In the cradle of time, where history kissed the earth and worlds collided, there lay a city that loomed larger than imagination itself, Roma. The very name evokes 1,000 contradictions, a melange of glory and despair, of art and violence, of civilization that thrived amidst the shadows of its own ambitions. As the sun peeks through wisps of cloud over the ancient Seven Hills, its rays illuminate crumbling stone that once echoed the footsteps of emperors, legions, and plebeians alike. Here, amidst the echoes of the past, a palpable tension lingers in the air, a reminder that modernity was cradled in this storied land, yet born from the very heart of exploitation and conflict. Picture it, a bustling forum alive with the vibrant tapestry of Roman life. Merchants hawking their wares clashed voices as orators stood at the podium, promising power and progress. Yet beneath this vibrant narrative, a darker undercurrent flowed, a truth that begs us to ask, does progress always come at a cost? The marble facades gleaming in the sunlight do little to hide the echoes of the past, the chains of the enslaved and the callous ambitions of those who wielded power. And so in the golden city that birthed civilization lies the question that fuels our exploration. How did this sanctuary of advancement and corruption shape the world we experience today? As we journey through time, we will encounter the ruins of grand structures, the Colosseum and the Pantheon overflowing with stories, where moments of breathtaking artistry collided violently with the brutal games of imperial politics. From the tumult of gladiatorial combat to the serene beauty of mosaics depicting myths celestial, Rome embodies a paradox. How could such artistry flourish under the weight of oppression and inequality? The ruins whisper secrets of grandeur overshadowed by an unseemly legacy, inviting us to ponder the moralities that underpin our own lives. In the beginning, this grand story unfolds along the banks of the Tiber River, where fertile soil and strategic elevation birthed a settlement barely destined for greatness. It is here, amid the spiraling tales of Romulus and Remus, two brothers born of divine lineage, that we glimpse the ancient heartbeat of a civilization in the making. Nurtured by the very geography that would allow it to thrive, Rome stood at the forefront of cultural exchanges, a melting pot of influences from Etruscans and Greeks entwined in its nascent veins. The echoes of their myths, customs, and governance find root in what would become the archetype of the empire. Yet within this tale of ascent lies an unsettling truth. The fragmentation of society started with its very foundations. As the small village transformed into a powerhouse, the seeds were sown for a class divide that would dictate relationships and destinies. Here we delve beneath the surface of marble and grandeur to find lives shaped by the constant dance of power and ambition. As the full moon rises over the Seven Hills, it casts long shadows on warm streets worn from countless stories, each one a mixture of aspiration and struggle, revealing the human dimensions behind Roman progress. This human struggle stretches from the exalted Senate chambers, filled with men whose whispers could shift the weight of empires, to the crowded streets teeming with laborers and farmers. In their daily lives, amidst the rich aromas of baked bread and the clattering of pottery in the marketplace, plebeians grapple with existence, their dreams clashing against the iron bars of societal order. While patricians feasted in opulence, drinking wine poured from silver goblets, the lower classes toiled endlessly for mere survival, an unyielding symbol of the Rubicon between wealth and poverty. In the crucible of Rome, ambition surged as fiercely as the Tiber in flood. Stories of ordinary Romans abound, each infused with the color and complexity of human emotion, fear, hope, ambition, and despair, all woven into the fabric of their society. The festivals celebrating divine favor and bountiful harvests also masked the oppressive weight of taxes that filled the coffers of those in power. As we immerse ourselves deeper into the psyche of the Roman people, a philosophical reflection emerges. Does the cultivation of culture inevitably require a sacrifice? Amidst this cacophony of societal dynamics, war and ambition would soon reshape the landscape, echoing through grand arches and the echoing stones of the Forum. Here we glimpse the tipping point, where personal ambitions clashed with collective ideals. With the horizon ablaze in the golden hues of dusk, the stage was set for conflicts that would reverberate through time, military campaigns that promised glory while exacting untold costs on countless lives. Each battle fought, each territory claimed, would become a chapter of Rome's metamorphosis, a transformation laden with ethical paradox. As we tread across the battle-scorched fields of history, the tension amplifies. Leaders like Julius Caesar emerge, figures shrouded in both valor and treachery, embodying the depths of human ambition bound by inevitability. Political machinations swirl in the air like the dust raised by restless soldiers, an ever-present reminder that history flows through the decisions of individuals, shaped by ambition and betrayal. It is a phantasmagoria defined by the relentless pursuit of power, the heartbreak of lost bonds, and the fear of what can be unleashed when the might of the state seeks dominion over all. With the passing of centuries, however, we find ourselves introspective, absorbing the wave of change that follows, bidding farewell to an empire straying from the splendor it once reveled in. As the sun sets behind the crumbling bricks of the monumental Roman Forum, we encounter the unsettling specter of decline, the fractures exacerbated by corrupt leadership and the primal chaos birthed from ambition that twisted once noble aspirations into ruin. The profound question echoes through time: what becomes of a civilization when the very systems that forged it begin to crumble from within? In exploring these stark contrasts, we invite you to step closer to the heart of a story that is as old as Rome itself, a reflection of humanity's deep-set vulnerabilities and ambitions caught in the harrowing tide of history. As we segue into the twilight of this extraordinary empire, we cannot help but feel the weight of its legacy hanging over us, reminding us that the seductive allure of progress whispers sweet promises, but often such promises are entwined with sacrifice. And so, as we move forward, the very essence of Rome becomes woven into the fabric of our present, as the vast canvas of its legacy unfurls, poised to reveal lessons on power, morality, and the human condition that echo down the corridors of time. As we glide further through time, the allure of the Tiber River beckons us once more, its gentle flow a reminder of the lifeblood that nourished this ancient city. Here, cradled by the ever-watchful Seven Hills, a society emerged distinctively layered, weaving a tapestry of power, tradition, and resilience that revealed itself in the heartbeat of Roman life. It was an environment molded by the ebb and flow of the seasons, enriched by fertile land that supported both agriculture and trade, as farmers toiled to coax life from the earth while merchants navigated the waters for precious goods. As the first settlements took root along these banks, their people drew not only from the resources at hand, but also from the rich legacies of those who had come before: the Etruscans, with their expressive art and intricate governance structures; the Greeks, whose philosophies and artistic expressions sparked profound shifts in thinking. This crucible of influences forged a unique cultural identity, yet it also laid the groundwork for the ambitions that would later manifest in imperial conquests. The resulting cultural synthesis flourished, manifesting in grand structures that seemed predestined to rise: temples dedicated to gods adorned in gold, forums bustling with the fervor of debate, and amphitheaters echoing with applause for the spectacle of gladiators, all steeped in the very essence of Roman aspiration. Yet, as we examine these structures and symbols, it becomes evident that their grandeur was entwined with contradictions. The societal framework that enabled the development of this glorious civilization was one of stark inequalities, where the promise of citizenship and participation echoed from the halls of power, yet the life of the common man remained circumscribed by labor and servitude. The delicate balance between opulence and despair reveals itself in every stone, every inscription dedicated to familial honor or divine favor, a duality that mirrors the complexity of human nature itself. Belief systems permeated daily life. The polytheistic religions that revered a pantheon of deities became intricately woven into the cultural identity of Rome. Festivals celebrated agricultural bounty, but also established a means of societal cohesion, fostering a sense of belonging among both patricians and plebeians, albeit in distinct social strata. The citizens gathered with a shared reverence, the air thick with incense and the fervent chants of priests invoking blessings, a communal experience imbued with the weight of expectation. Yet, lurking beneath the facade of unity lay the tension of a society grappling with the disparity of power and wealth, highlighted by the ever-present chasm between the ruling elite and the labor-driven populace. These very hierarchies would only solidify as Rome burgeoned into an empire, and ambition shifted from the collective to the individual, a refining paradox that would reshape the very destiny of the civilization itself. As the Tiber continued its tranquil flow, so too did the ambitions of its denizens grow ever more expansive. History would soon chart the course of Rome's ascendancy, punctuated by pivotal moments that shifted the landscape of power, calling forth the military and the political acumen that would define its legacy. The spoils of war lured generals and politicians alike into a tumultuous dance of rivalry, where the throes of ambition often masked the personal costs that would mount over time. The reverberations of legions marching across foreign lands echoed in the hearts of citizens, from the echoing triumphs of victorious commanders to the tragic losses suffered on the battlefield. As one thinks of the simple soldier, hardly distinguishable from a farmer in peaceful times, thrust into the chaos of war, the narrative becomes deeply human, imbued with sacrifice that often remained unseen. The delicate tapestry of Roman society began to fray as conflicts escalated, giving rise to significant figures such as Julius Caesar, whose meteoric rise intertwines with the fates of countless others, establishing a cycle of political ambition that would prove both intoxicating and destructive. The intrigue of the Senate chamber, where whispered allegiances danced perilously close to betrayal, provides a backdrop to a political landscape teeming with tension, a microcosm that often blurred the lines between rhetoric and reality. The ancient stones in the Senate, worn by time and by the weight of deliberation, witnessed discussions that shaped the future of an empire, punctuated by drama that soared as high as the marble arches above. Yet as we trace the path of these key players, the philosophical undertones of their ambitions become more glaring, evoking questions of morality in pursuit of power. What motivates the rise of a leader willing to grasp for dominion, despite the inevitable repercussions felt by the multitude? This dance of human ambition serves as a mirror of our own societies, hinting at the broader repercussions of unchecked power, and the toll it exacts not only upon the land but upon the very souls of its people. In an age where titles transformed into authority, the Romans found themselves navigating the juxtaposition of idealism and realism in governance, a constant interplay echoed through the power struggles that characterized the Republic. As conflicts shifted toward tumultuous outcomes, the enduring weight of wealth and influence took a palpable toll, the traditional values crumbling as factional divides emerged. The assassination of Caesar acted not merely as an event, but as a prelude to unrestrained chaos, the moment where the ambitions of a few too readily erased the desires of the many. It was a pivotal juncture, exemplifying how the personal vendettas and power plays of individuals could disrupt the delicate balance of a society that had once thrived on collaboration. This descent into strife predicted a larger transformation of Rome. Through the veil of ambition, we see the cracks gradually spreading, foreshadowing an inevitable reckoning for the civilization. And yet, amid these unfolding layers of betrayal and recession, the Roman spirit, indomitable yet fraying, fought against the tides of decline. The transition from republic to empire, with its powerful Augustus emerging from the ruins of civil strife, unveils a different aspect of Roman identity, one that sought stability through consolidating power and redefining citizenship through the lens of imperial greatness. The laurel crown, a symbol of victory entwined with the echoes of those who fell, reminds us that the order restored came with a price, a potent reminder of the balance between order and the chaos. Inextricably tied to these transformations became the concept of governance, a living testament to the achievements of law and civil structure birthed in this very land. The 12 Tables served not merely as legislation, but as a reflection of societal ideals. Laws born from struggle and negotiation became the backbone of civic existence. Sifting through the historical dust, one cannot help but be astounded by the realization that these embodied ideals still reverberate through the frameworks of modern democracy, contending with the same frailties that accompany the human narrative through time. For while the sun cast long shadows over the ruins of this great empire, the fading light encroached upon the certainties once enjoyed by a society so enamored with its own grandeur. The tides of change beckoned, a fracturing influence that heralded the twilight of what had once been the apex of civilization. And as we stand enveloped in the growing twilight, we find ourselves contemplating the dualities of ambition and consequence, the balance of triumph and despair, the cyclical question that reverberates through history. Are we destined to repeat the struggles that once transpired? The echoes of Rome still murmur through contemporary corridors, awaiting to be deciphered and revisited. As we venture forward, we remain poised at this precipice, a testimony to the resilience of a civilization that, while collapsing under the weight of its contradictions and conflicts, also birthed enduring ideas that continue to shape the contours of human history. At this point, the air grows thick with anticipation, a moment lingering, filled with the hope of discovery, intertwined with the solemn understanding of legacies forged in fire and ambition. The undulating landscape before us holds the key to understanding the essence of Rome, a complex reflection of the human spirit that transcends time, beckoning us ever further into the depths of its intricate tapestry. The fabric of Roman life, woven through the intimate rituals of the day, reveals a civilization where each moment echoed with intention, each action laden with meaning. As dawn cast gentle hues over the rooftops of would-be citizens, the aroma of freshly baked bread wafted through the streets of the burgeoning city, a testament to the early risers, the bakers whose hands kneaded dough not just for sustenance but for a shared sense of community. From the simplest of homes, constructed with modest clay and timber, emerged a world brimming with colors and voices, where the cadence of life flowed steadily, punctuated by the cries of children at play and the creaks of doors as families awoke to the reality of another day. Inside these homes, life was characterized by an intricate web of relationships. The paterfamilias reigned supreme, the male head of the household tasked with not only provision, but also with the obligation to uphold family honor and continuity, a role that placed immense burdens upon his shoulders. The women, largely confined within the domestic sphere, orchestrated the daily rhythm of household life, nurturing children and managing resources while also wielding an understated influence, evident in their ability to shape family traditions and social encounters that anchored their roles within the broader community. Daughters, often married young to secure alliances and bolster family stature, became vessels of continuity, their childhood steeped in preparation for futures beyond the walls of their upbringing, a poignant reminder of how personal ambitions were infused within the larger social fabric. Among the most vibrant facets of this life was the marketplace, the forum, where the pulse of Roman economic and social activity surged. Merchants from distant lands brought spices, silks, and rare goods, setting the stage for bartering and commerce while ordinary citizens gathered, exchanging not only wares but ideas, news, and personal stories that marked the tapestry of their lives. Vibrant colors of fruits and vegetables overflowed, their aromas mingling in the air, interspersed with the sharp tang of fish from market vendors, while the raucous calls of stall owners painted an auditory backdrop of vitality. The forum was more than a hub of trade, it was a theater of human interaction, a shared space where aspirations collided and friendships were forged against the tumultuous backdrop of societal change. As families convened within the sacred circle of their homes for meals, food transcended mere sustenance. It became a powerful symbol of connection, an act of unity that nourished both body and spirit. The traditional Roman meal, the cena, was a multi-course experience, a leisure-filled assembly where wine flowed freely, and laughter mingled with the deep conversations that traversed the complexities of life, politics, and philosophy. Olives, cheeses, and freshly roasted meats graced wooden tables, a microcosm of abundance that spoke not only to wealth, but also to the communal ties that held the fabric of society together. On special occasions, as families gathered to honor deities and ancestors, the air shimmered with the fragrance of incense and the soft flicker of oil lamps, casting an ethereal glow upon the rituals that transcended mere flesh and wine. In the heart of this bustling life lay the spirituality of Rome, a polytheistic embrace that drew from a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each representing facets of life, nature, and human experience. Temples rose with majesty, their intricate columns bearing witness to the faith that anchored the Roman identity, sanctuaries where supplicants sought favor and guidance. The devotion was palpable as citizens partook in festivals spilling beyond the urban boundaries, rejoicing in the shared hope for harvests, fertility, and prosperity. Yet within these public displays of worship, a nuanced duality persisted. While the elite had easy access to the sacred and the influential, the plebeians often found themselves relegated to the peripheries, their spiritual fervor feeling less personal and more communal, a yearning for connection with the divine that ran deeper down unseen tributaries of societal structure. As the seasons turned and the sun traversed the skies, Roman architecture whispered the tales of societal aspirations and existential struggles. Colonnades and grand structures, a marriage of utility and artistry, flourished, bridging the past and the present. Cities were adorned with aqueducts that arched gracefully across valleys, channeling vital water to the populace, a feat of engineering that showcased not only the proficiency of Rome but its ambition to elevate the everyday lives of its citizens. The clean, flowing lines of public baths reflected social constructs, places of hygiene, yes, but also centers of social interaction where politics, gossip, and shared humanity mixed, cloaked in steam and laughter. Above the surface, the grandeur of the cityscape cascaded down a steep slope, revealing further interplay of wealth and disparity, the villas of the wealthy gleaming like jewels against the backdrop of cramped insulae, where plebeians lived in shared spaces, the cacophony of life echoing through thin walls. Herein lay a silent tension, the fabric of society woven through with the threads of one's place in the hierarchy. Obscured by the opulence of golden statues and intricate mosaics, ordinary lives carried the weight of history's shadow, forging individual destinies amid the contrasts of abundance and need. Such was the paradox of Roman life, a phenomenon marked by ambition and an insatiable desire for greatness, a narrative underscored by the philosophy of the ancients, where the virtues of wisdom, courage, and justice were held in stark contrast to the realities of inequality and ambition. The discourse of public life, filled with the flourishes of rhetoric from the Senate to the amphitheaters, transcended mere politics, reflecting the philosophical conversations taking place amidst the everyday, a compelling reminder that the very essence of humanity encapsulated not only progress, but also latent vulnerabilities. Within every street, within every square, echoes of ideals and aspirations resided alongside the startling injustices that seemed perennial. Ordinary Romans walked this tightrope, negotiating their identities amid the sway of vast historical forces. The dreams of some clashed with the realities of others. A soldier who left his fields for the uncertainty of battle might yearn for the familiar but find himself buried under the weight of conquest, while the ambition of a senator could promise salvation even as it sowed division. As we unravel the layers of this intricate civilization, we linger in the spaces where individuals dreamt, struggled, and celebrated, the emotional lifeblood of the Roman experience. Through the laughter shared during festivals and the grief over lost loved ones, through the litanies of hope recited in sacred spaces and the quiet moments of reflection on the cusp of day, we witness what it meant to be human in an age of both reckoning and ambition. What emerges becomes a living mosaic, alive with the vibrancy of people, an intricate interplay of dreams, aspirations, and fears, mirroring our own existence in a world of order and chaos. Each brick, each arch, and each bustling marketplace embodies the resilience of spirits who, though subjected to the tides of fortune, dared to grasp for more, daring to shape not just their lives but the world that would be forged in the fires of ambition and desire. And as the sun sets beyond the 7 hills, casting long shadows over the ruins that would come to symbolize both triumph and tragedy, we are left to ponder what remnants of this extraordinary civilization linger within us today. The vast currents of history remind us that beyond the monumental structures and legendary figures lie the stories of countless lives intertwined, their whispers echoing into our collective memory, a rich tapestry that perpetuates the profound complexity of what it has meant and continues to mean to be human. Through the gaze upon this intricate civilization, we recognize a mirror, reflecting not only the past but also the threads of our present, and in this contemplative realm we stand poised on the brink of revelation, entranced by the whisperings of history, awaiting the next chapter in the story of humanity. As we traverse deeper into the enigmatic corridors of Rome's history, the pulse of change quickens, the very air vibrates with an anticipation that speaks of ambitions far beyond the horizon. The yawning divide between the elite and the ordinary Roman grew more pronounced during the Republic, its roots intertwined with political maneuvering and societal aspirations that ignited passions and conflicted desires. An age was dawning, marked not only by battle and conquest, but by the relentless quest for power that would test the very fabric of what it meant to be Roman. In this nascent crucible of ambition, we encounter the brilliance of influential figures, men whose destinies were sculpted by both fortune and the unyielding tide of history. One such figure was Gaius Julius Caesar, an embodiment of the Roman spirit, a military genius and populist leader whose rise was a reflection of the shifting loyalties of a populace yearning for change. The roar of the legions became a rallying cry, resonating from the streets of Rome to the distant provinces, fueling dreams of glory while stirring the embers of civil strife. His victories in Gaul, triumphant and bloody, were not merely conquests but seismic shifts that redirected the course of the Republic, as legions returned home not just as soldiers, but as men captivated by the weight of their leaders' aspirations. Yet soaring alongside Caesar's fortunes were the shadows of betrayal and factionalism, a mirror held up to the intricate dance of political alliances and rivalries that proliferated within the Senate. The Republic's delicate structure, once built upon the ideals of shared governance and citizen engagement, began to fracture as ambitious men like Pompey and Crassus maneuvered for dominance, their collective strength eclipsing the Senate's authority, leading to a precarious tug-of-war between liberty and tyranny, the very essence of Roman identity teetering at the edge of upheaval. In this powerful kaleidoscope of ambition, the great games of strategy played out against the backdrop of civil wars. At the heart of these tumultuous factions was a slowly simmering resentment, each faction pitted against the other, demolishing the once cherished golden age of republican values. The chains of political manipulation, fear, and glory forged by leaders transformed society significantly, as legions were drawn from the very fabric of citizenry, pitting brothers against brothers, their fates entwined in the tragedy of war, a tragedy that would stoke the fires of ideological conflict for generations. Even amid the turmoil, beneath the sleek exterior of power, the voices of the people clamored for a stronger connection to their leaders. The Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, emerged as emissaries of a cause echoing the discontent felt by the common folk. Their ambitious land reforms aimed at addressing the growing disparity in wealth brought them unwelcome attention from the elite, provoking a violent backlash against burgeoning populism. In their efforts, they sought to redress the imbalance, to bring prosperity back to the struggling masses. However, their tragic demises served as poignant reminders that the ambition for reform, while noble, lodged itself deep within the volatile heart of Roman politics. The confluence of military might and political aspiration continued to fascinate and horrify as victorious generals, accustomed to the adulation of their legions, began to seek the ultimate prize, political power. The very fabric of Roman identity began to age, cracks growing deeper with each clash of steel and echo of ambition, leading to a series of internal conflicts that solidified the transition from republic to empire, a metamorphosis that was felt in the lungs of every Roman citizen. The assassination of Caesar, a shockwave resonating through the fabric of society, set the stage for a power vacuum that would carve out the destiny of a great city, sending it spiraling in pursuit of a singular and often brutally enforced legacy. As the dust of civil conflict settled, an inevitable transformation emerged from the ashes. Octavian, later known as Augustus, stood as the harbinger of a new Roman era. His ascent was more than a mere shift in power, it marked the dawn of the imperial age. The promise of Pax Romana, the Roman peace, brought a welcome reprieve from the bloodletting, yet beneath this calm facade lay a consolidation of power that would reshape governance into a more autocratic regime. Augustus deftly redefined the role of the emperor, reinventing the image of leadership while cleverly preserving the trappings of the republic, a delicate facade that concealed the shifting power dynamics, but with stability came complexity. The Roman Empire sprawled across continents, absorbing diverse cultures and peoples, each with their own traditions and identities. The economic engine of the empire churned as trade networks flourished, establishing far-reaching connections that fostered a cultural exchange unlike any seen before. From the bustling ports of Alexandria to the cobbled streets of Rome, merchants exchanged ideas as freely as they did silks and spices, enriching the tapestry of Roman culture, with Hellenistic philosophies flowing through the veins of society, shaping new identities amidst the grandiosity of conquest. Yet prosperity's dimming light flickered ominously under the pressure of mounting complexity. The imperial endeavors fueled not only cultural diffusion, but also social unrest. In the provinces, an influx of taxes to support imperial extravagance stoked resentment among local populations, who often felt alienated and overburdened by the demands of a faraway government. The precarious balance of the empire teetered on the brink, as whispers of revolt stirred within the ranks of the disillusioned, their voices a harbinger of conflict soon to unfurl. Centuries unfolded, the undercurrents of discontent would surge, catalyzing waves of migration transcending geographical and cultural boundaries. People sought not only refuge but opportunity within the vast expanse of the empire. Various groups would embrace the chance to rewrite their destinies, although such movements sowed seeds of tension as the ever-expanding empire grappled with its own limits, pushing against the boundaries of control as the fabric of society became increasingly frayed. Wars raged on the frontiers, soldiers pushed beyond their limits with each campaign, and the relentless drive of ambition began to falter under the weight of constant conflict. Those entrusted to defend the borders suffered heavy attrition, leading to a reliance on non-Roman mercenaries whose loyalty to the empire grew increasingly tenuous, a shift in the military structure that would draw dagger-like shadows across Rome's future. The culminating crises manifested starkly, a perfect storm of political corruption, economic hardship, and militaristic overreach began to unravel the stability that Augustus forged. The emperor's focus on grandeur often eclipsed the necessity of genuine governance, breeding a culture of decadence that alienated the inherent citizenry. Ideological chasms developed within the ruling classes themselves. Those who flourished in opulence grew detached from the struggles of ordinary Romans, while appeals to traditional values and the restoration of the Roman spirit echoed faintly from the peripheries. And looming over this landscape was an external threat, manifesting in the form of barbarian invasions that pounded at the gates of civilization, challenging everything the Romans held sacred. The wisdom of the past stood at odds with the stark reality of their present, as waves of Visigoths and Vandals crashed upon a weakened empire, bringing with them the poignant reminder that every creation carries the seeds of its undoing. The eternal concept of civilization, so carefully crafted by generations, began to tremble under the weight of its contradictions. The spark ignited by ambition met the harrowing winds of decline, each factor conspiring to abbreviate an empire that once stood resolute against the odds. What remained was no longer a utopia of order but a complex tableau, a civilization on the brink of disarray, its grand ideas, once illuminating the paths of progress, now held aloft a flicker of doubt amidst gathering storms. And so, as we bear witness to this pivotal transformation, from the republic conceived in idealism to the complexities of imperial ambition, we find ourselves entangled in a narrative that whispers of longing for greatness amidst the shadows of decline. The Romans, through their victories and their defeats, remind us of the fragility of all construct, of the quiet inevitability that history, with its ebbs and flows, shapes humanity in profound ways, endowed with lessons that resonate even in the pulse of our own collective existence. Thus their legacy, though imbued with tragedy, stands as a testament to the resilience and struggle of societal evolution, a reminder that in our pursuit for greatness, we sail the uncertain seas of destiny, forever navigating the churning tides of change. The story of Rome remains our own, each epoch a chapter reverberating through time, beckoning us to delve deeper still, to seek those connections that bind the past to the pulse of the present. As the vestiges of power began to erode, the truth became undeniable. A great civilization could crumble beneath the weight of its own contradictions. The Roman Empire, once a formidable force, a beacon illuminating vast landscapes of culture, innovation, and governance, now lingered in a state of disarray. The splendid architecture of the Forum lay shrouded in whispers of a bygone era, shadowed by the bemusement of its citizens who navigated through a labyrinth of confusion, hope, and disillusionment. The tensions between the great emperor and his subjects grew palpable, each instance of governance becoming a fraught negotiation, a precarious balancing act where the ideals of public service succumbed to the harsh realities of ambition. In the throes of decline, the very core of Roman identity experienced seismic shifts. Citizens who once reveled in the pride of their empire now bore the weight of uncertainty. The glimmering shores of trade that had once welcomed sailors with vibrant hopes became hauntingly quiet, mirroring the increasing isolation felt within the hearts of those who called Rome home. The pride derived from the legions, the backbone of this colossal entity, was now interwoven with an unsettling sense of fear. Recruitment dwindled as veteran soldiers, embittered by relentless combat, grew disillusioned, replaced by a patchwork of mercenaries whose loyalties remained unsteady, rendering the once mighty Rome vulnerable. Amidst this backdrop of collective unease, there also thrived a poignant narrative of adaptation. The empire, sprawling across diverse cultures and landscapes, began navigating the complexities of identity, a melding of Roman ideals with the indigenous beliefs of the provinces. The fusion of cultural practices became a testament to resilience, illuminating the depth of human experience as individuals infused their heritage into the broader narrative. Communities, erstwhile marginalized, found themselves rising to prominence, even as the central authority struggled against its own contradictions, an irony that danced upon a fine line between assimilation and resistance. In the bustling marketplaces along the Via Appia, the spirit of commerce persisted, where patricians mingled with plebeians, exchanging goods and ideas, each transaction colored by the hues of different cultures. The conversations exchanged in those market stalls reverberated through the ages, as voices reflecting a multitude of heritages echoed softly amongst the ruins. Artistic expressions flourished, blending the grandiosity of Roman architecture with the intricate designs of cultures absorbed by its ever-expanding grasp. These layers of identity would come to define the very DNA of Europe, a synthesis forged from conflict and cooperation, leaving behind a legacy that transcended the faltering might of a singular empire. Yet, with this transformation arrived the haunting specter of fragmentation. Thread by thread, the once cohesive fabric began to unravel under the relentless pressures of time. Be it the encroachment of barbarian tribes along the Rhine and Danube, or the rise of local leaders asserting authority over their territories, the central command steadily diminished in strength and influence. The Roman citizen, once proud to claim allegiance to a grand collective, began to identify with the local, to the tribes who walked their lands or the gods whom they worshipped. The empire, its might receding, reflected a painful irony. For every piece of territory lost, a piece of identity strained to uphold the remnants of a glorious past. As the Western Roman Empire teetered on the brink, another poignant point emerged from the ashes: the resilience of memory. Within the hearts of the people lay an unyielding connection to their history, ricocheting through oral tales of glory, loss, and perseverance. This engagement with an illustrious past became a way to navigate the stormy seas of uncertainty while holding aloft a flickering lantern of hope. In those turbulent times when structures of order began to fragment, it was the stories, richly told by fathers to sons, mothers to daughters, that entwined the legacy of Rome with the enduring spirit of its people. And the once brilliant city itself, replete with the grandeur of the Colosseum and the Pantheon, stood, not as a mere echo of anticipation but as a canvas of transformation. The rich tapestry of Roman life, woven intricately with the threads of art, philosophy, and governance, began to flow seamlessly into the fabric of emerging European cultures. Here lay the quiet beauty of transition, from the Republic to the Empire, from imperial might to local governance, the bricks of history reforming beneath the feet of those experiencing their own evolution. The architectural remains of Rome, in a state of grand decay, became poignant reminders that impermanence infused permanence in its own strange, delicate way, a testament that nothing exists without the ghostly shadows of those that preceded it. As tribes banded together in the face of descending chaos, some embraced this disruption as an opportunity to craft new identities. The echoes of Roman citizenship found themselves intermingled with chieftains and local leaders seeking to unite disparate communities under a new leadership. What started as mere survival transformed into a mosaic of theological conversation, cultural synthesis, and philosophical exploration. The Christograms of early Christianity began to flicker into the psyche of the empire, eventually intertwining with and subverting older ideologies that had long defined the Roman narrative. The crucible of collapse birthed new faith and convictions that would reframe societies for generations to come. Yet even in the throes of rebirth, a pervasive sense of fatigue echoed within the institutions that once commanded absolute power. A collective weariness seeped into the governance as leaders grappled with the enormity of their constituents' expectations while chafing against the scant resources at their disposal. Economic strain transformed the governing structure, each decision weighed down by the trembling realities of disillusionment, an unfortunate byproduct of an empire that had forgotten the delicate balance between ambition and accountability. The notion of governance shifted, and as Rome fractured, the remnants of its once mighty Senate transformed into councils muddled by regionalism and parochial interests. Even as its shadows flickered upon the annals of history, the principles of justice and order championed by Rome would echo quietly through echoes of later civilizations, albeit in forms often stripped of their original sheen. The once revered politicians, who had the power to shape history's trajectory, began to find their influence waning against a backdrop of regional discord that swept across the empire like a wildfire, a sorrowful yet inevitable outcome heralded by generations of triumph and subsequent trials. As the dust settled into the fertile earth, we reflect on how the consequences of ambition, power, and fear etched themselves into the annals of history. Each burgeoning civilization, each new dream of hope, bore the latent memory of Rome within its foundations. It is here, amidst the remnants of a legacy both solemn and whimsical, that the threads of time weave a narrative rich with the essence of our shared humanity, a continuum of creation and dissolution that reverberates through every challenge we face today. As shadows of the past shift and spiral in our collective consciousness, the question lingers, reminding us of our fragile knapsack of history. How do we carry forth this transcendent legacy, adorned with lessons learned and tragedies endured, into the uncertain expanse of an evolving world? In the quiet echoes of forgotten streets, the pulse of the ancient world beckons us to listen, to remember, and to adapt. The tale of Rome, with all its fragmentation and resurgence, remains one of endurance, a reflection of our shared journey across the tapestry of time, guiding us ever onward into the vast ambivalence of tomorrow. The story is not concluded, but rather a chapter poised on the brink of transformation, awaiting the next great turn in a narrative that is ours to shape. As twilight drapes itself over the tired ruins where once the heartbeat of a great civilization thrived, we are left to ponder the fragile threads of legacy that linger, almost imperceptibly, in the echoes of time. The great city of Rome, with its soaring arches and resilient columns, no longer stands as it did in its prime, yet it whispers to us across the millennia, sharing its stories of triumph, sorrow, and the indomitable human spirit that shaped its existence. Each crumbling stone carries within it the weight of aspirations and heartbreak, revealing how civilizations, too, share the common trajectory of rise and fall. What remains of that splendid empire? Like ghostly figures in the fading light, the grandeur of the Colosseum now sits quietly, a forgotten arena that bore witness to both the spectacle of power and the quiet desperation of lives reduced to mere entertainment. History has transformed it into a symbol representative not only of Roman vigor, but of the fragility of ambition, raising reflective questions about the costs that greatness often exacts. The vibrant laughter of gladiators, the cheers of an adoring public, have long since faded, leaving behind only the sound of wind whistling through desolate archways, as if reminding us of the delicate fragility of human endeavors. In a world that continues to evolve, the lessons embedded in Rome's story have migrated beyond its geographic boundaries, intermingling with cultures far and wide, transforming into the very essence of modern governance, law, and societal structure. The principles of citizenship and civic duty, once fiercely contested in the Senate, melded into the syncretic foundation of communities that draw from a myriad of ancestral privileges, echoing sentiments of shared responsibility that defy the ashes from which they arose. What might we, the inhabitants of a post-Roman world, choose to carry forth as we strive to confront our own entangled narratives of power and service? Yet let us cast our gaze beyond the grand architecture and prominent figures, and tenderly recognize the softer cadences of existence that have survived the relentless tide of history. Schools of thought birthed during the reign of emperors continued to flourish in the minds of scholars descended from Rome's diverse subjects. The once great libraries, repositories of knowledge, became the seeds from which ideas blossomed in unexpected places, through the hands of those seeking solace in words, wisdom, and the pursuit of truth. Monasteries rose where vibrant forums once stood, acting as sanctuaries for the intellect, their quiet halls infused with prayers and philosophical discourse, safeguarding the vestiges of long-vanished wisdom as history unfurled into a new era. While ruins bear witness to the decay of earthly power, they also cradle a profound sense of cultural survival. Many traditions carried forth their essence, Songs, rituals, and tales flourished in the villages that rose in the shadows of the once mighty empire. Festivals entwined with the turning of the calendar celebrated triumphs of local heroes, no longer tethered to the imperial ambitions of Rome, but rather to the aspirations of the communities that filled those fields with laughter and light. Through each transmission of narrative, the past and present conjoined, crafting a richer understanding of human experience that transcended barriers, carrying with it the fragmented but cherished identities so integral to both Roman and post-Roman lives. As we traverse the landscapes left behind, we come to understand the delicate interplay between memory and meaning. The stories of those who walked the ancient streets, of the merchants who exchanged wares along the bustling Via Sacra, and of the families who found solace in each other amid the grandiosity of imperial pride, now reverberate across time in the oral traditions that survive, each whisper molding how generations perceive their own roots. The fabric of human experience, an intricate tapestry woven with threads of glory and anguish, reminds us that while Rome itself may have slipped beneath the sands of history, its spirit remains present in the collective consciousness, challenging us to confront the paradoxes of our present-day realities. Time, with its steady erosion, offers not only loss but resilience, the capacity to draw strength from what's left behind. With every ruin that emerges from the soil, an echo of shared experience is recalled, a reflection of how fragility and fortitude can coexist. From the remnants of temples dedicated to your gods, transformed into cathedrals of devotion, we see how the narratives of belief adapt to suit evolving eras, illustrating that while empires may fall, creativity and faith endure. The colors of sunrise cast over fragile structures evoke memories of resilience. Isolation becomes collective strength as communities rise to hold on to the stories that shape their identities. Yet as we listen deeply, a profound stillness emerges, a gentle reminder that history is layered and complex, painted with shades of human experience that oscillate between aspiration and despair. History is both teacher and mirror. It reveals to us the many faces of humanity. It is here, in this contemplative embrace of silence, that we find the space to reflect upon our own narratives, the shifting landscapes of our own time marked by ambition, struggle, and hope. The lessons gleaned from the depths of Roman history urge us to consider what fragments of our own lives are indeed tethered to these ancient echoes. As we step forward into an uncertain future, we carry not just the weight of our own experiences, but also the inheritances of countless generations. In quiet moments, as the sun dips below the horizon and the last light of day casts its gentle glow upon the ruins, we are reminded that the impermanence of life breeds an eternal connection. Through smile-laden eyes and hands weathered by time, we understand that the echoes of Rome are not trapped in monuments. They echo in the laughter of children, in the stories shared at tables of family and friends, and in the dreams that drive us to reach for something greater. The wisdom of our ancestors, the lessons of resilience, remain intrinsic to our shared humanity, calling us to intertwine our fates with the past while forging a pathway into the light of tomorrow. As dusk blankets the storied remnants, casting them in soft shadows that flicker against the fabric of modern life, we breathe in the fading brilliance of an ancient epoch. May we carry forward not merely the legacy of Rome, but the essence of our shared journey across time. For when all is whispered into memory, borne on the winds of change, we find solace in knowing that the lessons learned, of power, of loss, of renewal, are imprinted upon the very soul of humanity, urging us to navigate the labyrinth of existence with grace, humility, and the enduring belief in our capacity to rise anew. In the end, the spirit of Rome lives on quietly, an echo through our very being, calling us to honor the past as we craft the unwritten pages of our future together as kindred souls in the vast embrace of time.